It has just gone 10 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news. I'm Sandy Boingwana. I'm with Namakabe Sonkambule. We're coming to you live from the Hospital Hill Studios in Babane. Thank you so much for making us your news channel of choice. First, we begin here. Your headlines tonight. Ngosikati Magala says Africans have always upheld their history and have a way of preserving it. The Prime Minister has addressed UNAIDS officials on the strides taken by Eswatini to combat HIV and AIDS. And the Deputy Prime Minister has joined other Eswatini in commemorating Deaf Day. Good evening, the news in detail. Ngosikati Magala says Africans have always upheld their history and have a way of preserving it. Ngosikati was speaking during the official opening of the 23rd Conference for the Name Society of Africa held at the University of Eswatini.
The conference is hosted by the Names Society of Southern Africa, NSSA, in every 2 years. This is an academic organization based in the University of KwaZulu-Natal, which studies names and naming in Southern Africa. The hosting of the conference rotates amongst SADC countries, and it is hosted by universities, as it is hosted by the University of Eswatini this year. Inkosikati Magela Mathebula attended the conference and she was one of the speakers during the conference. Inkosikati is an advocate for women and children's health and education. The conference is attended by delegates from various countries of Southern Africa and also delegates from Kenya. This year's theme is Names and Naming in a Cultural Landscape. Inkosikati Magela Mathebula says Africans have always upheld their history and had a way of preserving it before the arrival of the church or colonialists with their way of life that included education.
Onomistics is the study of proper names and naming. What is in a name is what is found from the science of naming. The way names are given varies from place to place. Of importance is to take note of the region, language, culture, and any other practice of the society concerned. Onomistics is the science that has lagged behind for a long time, as it has not been promoted like other sciences. One wonders how much of our culture and traditions we would have been able to preserve without names to serve as our reminders.
Inkosikati also pointed out that one can never underestimate the power of names, as in everyday functioning, names are needed.
The name of a person will tell you the origin of the individual, as well as their language and other practices, even events that were happening during the period they were born. The following will be my examples. Temanyamanze, a girl born of the Twala tribe, whose praise is Nyamanze. Temaswati, a girl born in Eswatini. Temhlanga, a girl born during the reed dance period. Masalembini, a boy born when the men of the country were going to war. Skombeni, a boy born in Sikombeni. We also have others like Kondapi, a girl born whilst the parents were looking for a place to establish their home, Ukonda.
The Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Jane Simelane, highlighted that names and naming makes one relate, associate, and belong.
This theme comes at a time when we were really enforcing the naming. We are really enforcing our cultural heritage of naming things, of remembering what our ancestors did in their previous life. So the naming that is being emphasized here is for us. The importance is for us, Eswatini, to remember, to name things that we are doing.
The Vice Chancellor of the university, Professor Justice Twala, said if you want to kill a nation and its identity, you don't need nuclear bombs, just kill its culture.
History has proven that names help to accomplish a cultural identity and excellent records of a people's history and trajectories through time and space.
Names Society of Southern Africa NSSA Executive President Professor Mangena highlighted on how the conference will benefit the delegates. This is the 23rd conference, and this is the first conference since COVID. It is also expected to last for 3 days in the kingdom. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Zweli Masugu in Matapa.
His Excellency, the Honorable Prime Minister Russell Miso Dlamini has enlightened world leaders attending a high-level side event hosted by UNAIDS at the United Nations Delegates Room on how the Kingdom of Eswatini, under the leadership of His Majesty King Mswati III, has demonstrated strong commitment and leadership in the HIV response at both political and community levels through opening spaces for active participation for all Eswatini.
Speaking at the high-level event, the Prime Minister acknowledged that many countries are facing significant challenges in the fight against HIV, such as limited resources, inadequate healthcare infrastructure, health emergencies, and socio-economic barriers that continue to hinder the global effort to end the spread of HIV. The Prime Minister then highlighted the importance of multilateralism as a beacon of hope, saying that the cooperation and collective action can address these obstacles effectively. The Prime Minister used the Kingdom of Eswatini as an example, telling delegates that in the kingdom, the fight against HIV started with a declaration by His Majesty King Mswati III, who declared that the response to HIV was the kingdom's collective responsibility. Quote-unquote, HIV yindzaba yethu sonke. The Prime Minister further told the gathering that over the years, Eswatini has always been an early adopter of global recommendations, including strategies, policy briefs, guidelines, and tools. This trait, the Prime Minister says, is what has made the kingdom register a decline in new HIV infections and HIV-related deaths and achieve the 95-95-95 treatment targets ahead of time. The Prime Minister concluded his speech by informing the gathering that Eswatini adopted context-specific strategies, including health systems building, the task of shifting HIV testing from nurses to lay counselors, and the decentralization of HIV services, amongst others. The Prime Minister says all these initiatives highlight the effectiveness of the Dinghudla system of governance as being relevant in raising awareness in the fight against HIV. John Molelekeng for Eswatini TV News in New York.
Now, on Wednesday, the Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Thuli Dladla, commemorated Deaf Day at the Stegi Town Hall. The theme for this year's commemoration is Sign Up for Sign Language.
Every year, Eswatini commemorates the World Deaf Day. This day serves not only to raise awareness about the challenges faced by the deaf community, but also recognizes the right culture, language, and contribution of deaf individuals worldwide.
Lower perception and remove this unnecessary stigma. Ngendzaba yokuthi kuthiwa i-exposure iyaphilisa. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi we are all exposed ekuthini bantu labane-disability noma ngangiyiphi akusilo kucala asisuke ukumema sithi uNkulunkulu wangikheza. Bahlonishwa nani nonke nabadala nabo bonke labethe batosile baba nathi la nemedia asichubekene sibatshele abantu ukuthi let us respect
FOTSWA President Bongani Makama says it is vital to advocate for the rights of the deaf and promote sign language.
Uma live belingayi endosa ukuthi ibe i-third language in the country. Lokho kuyakwenza ngokuthi bantu labadefu bangahambi khathi basenkingeni uma badinga isevisi. Kungabi ngokuthi kumele kuze kudingakale i-sign language interpreter.
The Ministry of Education Director Tholakele Mgometulu says it is important to promote communication accessibility, awareness of deaf culture, and social inclusion, while also addressing the persisting challenges faced by the deaf community.
And Mr. Makubu spoke about Eswatini having 3 languages. That is a fact. As the Minister of Education, we are cognizant of that fact. We have our first language, Siswati, then our second language, English, then Siswati Sign Language. Those are our languages.
This year's theme is Sign Up for Sign Language Right. Reporting, I am Tembelihle Makuchwa at Stegi.
The Minister of Natural Resources, Senator Prince Lonkokela, says preparations for the construction of the strategic fuel oil reserve are still underway. The Honourable Minister was speaking in Parliament when responding to a question by the House of Assembly.
When the House of Assembly convened for work schedule for the day, the Honourable Minister of Natural Resources and Energy, Senator Prince Lonkokela, gave answers on a question asked by Lobamba Lomtsala, Member of Parliament, Mawi Kumalo, that says, could the Honourable Minister of Natural Resources inform the Honourable House about the level of progress that has been achieved in the construction of a fuel oil reserve?
Mshaka 8 May, besikuwo lo mbuzo lo. 12 August, besikuwo lo mbuzo. September 12, namuhla, sikuwo. Mshaka 4 March, ngiyo le ndzaba le, langkhathi.
Following the responses by the Honourable Minister, the House of Assembly asked the Honourable Minister to furnish the Honourable House with tangible answers as per the question on the order paper.
Akati the Honourable Minister would see, kude question lengangayibuta landlinet, it's in progress. That is the issue la. Since I also khulume last week, no more khuluma last year, it's in progress. Since I khuluma landli.
The Honourable Minister then responded to the question.
I-progress ayikabingi lengakanani. Ngani ngobe sisesigabeni sekuthi kufanele ukuthi si-deliver i-product etawusebenza. Mina I'm used to producing into the not white elephants. This is a very big investment for the country. Kufanele sisi make sure wekuthi at the end of the day, yinto lesebentako le, it won't be a white elephant. Ema oil reserves, Mr. Speaker, kuyendeka akhiwe, ibhadalwe le mali. Na ibhadaliwe le mali, kungasebenzi lethu. Imali ihambile. Ngako ke, the groundwork may seem slow, may seem like it's not there. It's there. We are working, Mr. Speaker, and at the end of the day, the House here will be happy with the product.
The House of Assembly adopted the Minister's responses. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samgal Swekoza with Skubuzo Dlamini and Temba Shabangu, Parliament.
The Honourable Minister of Education, Owen Nxumalo, says government is working on addressing the issue of a lack of teaching material, shortage of teachers and delays in the payment of OVC grants. The Honourable Minister was speaking during the World Teachers' Day held at the Manzini Regional celebrations.
The Ministry of Education and Training, in partnership with UNESCO, on Wednesday held the 4th World Teachers' Day regional celebrations. Manzini region teachers shared challenges faced by schools.
Being in a rural school, we suffer from remoteness. Hence, the scarcity of resources, ranging from the basic learning materials to basic needs of the teachers, such as accommodation.
The biggest challenge is that the initiative funds schools according to how many pupils the school has enrolled, but has failed to consider that the cost of running a school is such as paying salaries and utilities are almost the same across all schools, regardless of the intake.
They've gone to Taiwan. We do have a number of them in our schools that have left, and others who you find that they've retired, but their posts are still not filled up. So we remaining teachers find ourselves overwhelmed with the periods that are left.
Siyaticela letinsita tekusebenta lelesithi ngema-teaching aids and teaching materials. Siyakucela. CPE usilethele tifundvo Nkosi yami. Usilethele tifundvo leti-practical. Site letintfo tekusebenta.
The Honorable Minister of Education and Training, Owen Nxumalo, vowed that the government will work on resolving these challenges.
Ngicabanga kusema price because lesikwanje ngingahamba kudo ukhanza sikuthe gesi bathi bahlala emeeting basomnye teachers bamxoshile lakhaya leya base lo munye usuka emali yaduma aye emankayana benye lesinye isikolo basomnye teacher usuka emali yaduma. Most of the teachers base bahlala la empini. Angicabangi ukuthi lokhu lesithunywe kona ingonyama. I doubt. And I'm not even sure ukuthi he's aware. Ukuthi kambe lokhu kusentela. Uthi okandaba asisina sakha into le complete. Singenze isicokogwana. So nyalo sakha letikolwa and forget about the teachers.
The meeting also discussed the lack of teachers' material for children with special needs, the issue of corporal punishment, and old education legislations. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samgal Swekhoza with Themba Shabangu, Manzini.
The Honourable Minister of Health, Mtutuzi Matsebula, has officially launched a high dependency unit at the Manzini TB Hospital, which will cater for provision of medical attention to cancer and other non-communicable diseases patients. The 6-bed unit has been supported by Doctors Without Borders, who also donated an ambulance for it. This assistance was handed over to government by Dr. Louis Nair, who is the organization's head of mission.
MSF lele bathuna ukuthi bo Doctors Without Borders basihlaba ngesikozwane sana i-ambulance lenhle la ngemuva ukuthi itobambisa le facility.
The Doctors Without Borders have come through for us in donating the state-of-the-art ambulance and have also supported us with what I would call a mini ICU, where patients will be stabilized and, if need be, transferred to intensive care unit. I would like to thank all development partners who are supportive to the Ministry of Health in our quest to bring adequate health services to the public under His Majesty's command.
The Eswatini Tourism Authority has issued its monthly statistical release on the tourism sector, which indicates that international visitor arrivals in the country soared by 12.9% last month. This is contained in a press release by the Eswatini Tourism Authority.
According to the authority, 86,109 tourists arrived in the country last month, and the increase is primarily driven by strong demand from key regional markets and in particular South Africa and Mozambique, which together accounted for 63,676 arrivals. The latest tourism statistics reveal that overall arrivals from the African region saw a noteworthy improvement of 16.8%. Botswana registered a significant growth rate of 95.7%, whilst Lesotho recorded an impressive increase of 295.6%. Zimbabwe and Zambia also saw healthy growth rates of 40% and 26.6% respectively. Arrivals from the Americas increased by 10%, largely driven by an outstanding 95.9% rise in visitors from Brazil, indicative of a growing interest in the Eswatini economy and traditions. Visitors from the United States of America increased by 8%. The Asia and the Pacific markets also thrived with 15.2% overall growth. Australia led with 40.3% rise in arrivals, followed by a significant increase from China, which stood at 27.1%, and South Korea at 26.5%. On the downside, the authority says arrivals from the Eurozone struggled, reflecting a decline of 9%. The Eswatini Tourism Authority says year-over-year comparisons indicate a striking 14% increase in arrivals when analyzing the first 9 months of the year. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Dlangamandla Mbabane.
Right, with that, we segue into the world of business, where we take a look at financial indicators to give us a sense of how markets are faring today in our financial report.
Standard Bank.
Welcome back to the news. Moving further afield in our international news, a man who is believed to have tried to kill Donald Trump in Florida has been charged with attempted assassination in Miami. Mendulo Kumbi filed a report.
The gunman accused of planning to kill Donald Trump at his Florida golf course was indicted on 3 additional counts, including attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate. The 58-year-old Ryan Road was arrested on September 15 after Secret Service agents spotted him with a gun near the course where Trump was playing. He has already been charged with 2 gun crimes in relation to the incident. The new indictment was issued by a grand jury, a panel of citizens with investigative powers in Miami, Florida. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky takes center stage at the United Nations as he seeks to sustain global support ahead of US elections that could bring a sharp shift from his top Beckham. Zelensky, clad in his trademark military fatigues, a year ago made a dramatic first wartime appearance before the annual UN General Assembly as he urged international pressure on Russia over its invasion. Zelensky will address the General Assembly on another hectic day of international diplomacy that will include an emergency Security Council meeting on the Lebanon crisis. Zelensky will head Thursday to Washington to enjoy a show of support at the White House by President Joe Biden and to present a further outline of what the Ukrainian leader calls a victory plan. On another note, US President Joe Biden has called for an end to the conflicts in Ukraine, Gaza, and Sudan as he delivered the final address to the UN General Assembly of his career. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in his opening remarks, also warned that impunity, inequality, and uncertainty are deepening geopolitical divisions and creating an unsustainable world, urging countries to stop arming rival generals in Sudan. Biden also used his wide-ranging address to call for an end to the civil war there that has triggered a major humanitarian crisis. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan told the assembly that the values of the United Nations system and the Western world are dying in Gaza as the conflict continues there, calling for an alliance of humanity to stop Israel. For Eswatini TV News, Pendulo Kumbi, visual source from France 24 VOA and DW.
Welcome back. In our sports news, the Commonwealth Games Federation delegation headed by President Chris Jenkins has arrived in the country ahead of their first ever board meeting to be held outside Europe. The delegation landed at the King Mswati III International Airport.
Well, the first thing I wanted to do when I was elected president was to start putting the Commonwealth back into Commonwealth sport, which means visiting some of our members, some of the Commonwealth countries, And there are lots of ways of doing this. Could just be a small visit or attend the games there. And when I was talking with Maxwell, we said, why don't we host a board meeting here? It would be fantastic. So it's great to bring the board out of London. They're all from all over the Commonwealth. So we'll meet once a year in London and once a year somewhere in the Commonwealth. And this is the first meeting, and it's in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Yes, well, it's really important because one of the reasons we're here is to raise the profile of sport, the importance of sport within a country, and to say to everyone, you can excel at sport. You can do lots of things. Sport's a great way of bringing people together, gets people fit, active and healthy. And eventually, if you're talented and training, you're good enough, you get to go to a major games. So it's really to talk about, let's raise the power of sport. Let's think about the coaches. Let's think about coaches. Let's think about encouraging the athletes and supporting them. And that's the best way of performing.
On to these now, Eswatini Olympics and Commonwealth Games Games Association Chief Executive Officer Maxwell Chele says plans of ensuring that the country is represented at different international para games, which are games of people with disabilities, are at an advanced stage, with the hope that the country will have a team in 2028 Paralympics Games in Los Angeles in the United States of America.
We want the best solution, to be honest, for the country, because we are also equally concerned by the fact that, the para-athletes, we've got athletes in the country, we've got certain sports associations, such as tennis, basketball, and others that have got wheelchair sport, which are not really participating at the international stage. I mean, on the Commonwealth Games side, for instance, when we send a team to the Commonwealth Games have got an element of para as well, where you've got, your para sport competing. And then at the Olympic stage, you've got the normal Olympic Games, which we participated in, and then you've got the Paralympic Games, which unfortunately, as a country, we did not send a team to. So it's a very big issue, Fabrice, which we are seized with ourselves. We are discussing with relevant stakeholders on a clear path for the country going forward. And hopefully, sooner rather than later, we'll have clear direction.
Right, with that, let's take a quick commercial break. Up next is the weather from the Weather Center.
Win your share of millions in free shopping. Buy any participating product for a chance to win. Competition ends 6 October. Get 3 kg Sunlight hand washing powder for only $84.99. Baby Soft 2-ply toilet rolls, 18s, just $139.99. 1 liter liquid fruit, only $22.99. 1 kg Stock Country Spread Tub, just $43.99. Or 400 gram Koo baked beans in tomato sauce. Buy 2 for only 30 emalangeni.
And that's why we shop at Spar.
Hi-Fi Corp's big birthday sale is now on with even bigger savings. When you shop this Hisense 65-inch Smart UHD TV for only $8,499, save $4,500. Or this Asus X515 Intel Celeron laptop for $4,799, save $1,700. Or this Russell Hobbs 30-liter electronic microwave for $1,499, save $300. Price is valid until 6 October 2024. T's and C's apply. Hi-Fi Corp, your #1 deal destination.
Right, with that, that's how we come to the home stretch of the news at 10. But before we go, here's a quick reminder of news making headlines tonight. Inkosikati Magela Matsabula says Africans have always upheld their history and have a way of preserving it. The Prime Minister has addressed UNAIDS officials on the strides taken by Eswatini to combat HIV and AIDS. And the Deputy Prime Minister has joined other Eswatini in commemorating Deaf Day. Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini. That's how we come to the conclusion of the news at 10, brought to you by Eswatini TV. Thanks so much for choosing to stay with us. That's all we had for you for now. Good night and God bless.